All right, let's dive in, folks. So today we're tackling climate change, and we've got a pretty diverse stack of sources here.
Yeah, we've got some heavy-hitting scientific papers, policy briefs, and even
Even some stuff on pitaya farming.
pitaya farming.
Like, what's the connection, right?
It's all connected, though.
Yeah.
But one thing that really jumps out from these sources is the urgency. Like,
Okay.
we are in a climate emergency.
So no more messing around.
No more messing around.
It's time to face the facts.
The pot is boiling over.
Okay, enough with the metaphors. Just how bad is it really?
Well, one paper highlights the rate of warming in the Arctic.
Okay.
It's almost 4 times faster than the global average since 1979.
That's a lot, 4 times faster. But like, what does that actually mean for, us down here?
Well, the Arctic is melting away, and that has huge consequences for everyone.
Okay.
Think of it like the planet's air conditioners are breaking down.
Oh.
The Arctic helps regulate global temperatures. And as it warms, we're seeing changes in weather patterns, ocean currents, even sea levels.
Okay, so it's not just about polar bears on shrinking ice floes anymore.
It's not just about polar bears, no.
This is everything.
Exactly. And the sources show how these changes are already impacting people's lives. We're seeing more extreme weather, disruptions to agriculture, displacement of communities.
It's going to get worse the longer we wait, right?
Absolutely. The longer we wait, the harder it gets to fix and the more expensive it becomes.
Okay, so bottom line.
The bottom line is that delaying action just increases the cost, both financially and in terms of human suffering.
So year 2025, takeaway number 1, act now.
That or
Pay later.
Literally. Now let's look at something visually fascinating. One source uses a Sankey diagram to show the flow of global emissions.
Sankey diagram. Is that like a flowchart?
Kind of like a flow, but instead of showing how a caterpillar turns into a butterfly,
Okay.
it shows how things like agriculture, transportation, and industry contribute to global emissions. So we can actually see how much each sector is responsible.
Exactly. Think of it like a map of where our emissions are coming from.
Okay, got it. And what's the takeaway there?
It highlights that tackling climate change requires a holistic approach. We need to rethink how we produce and consume everything.
So it's not just about switching to electric cars.
It's not just about electric cars.
It's about transforming entire systems.
Transforming entire systems, yeah.
Year 2025, takeaway number 2, it's all connected.
It's all connected.
Think bigger than your own carbon footprint.
Absolutely.
One thing that really struck me was how the sources emphasized the human side of climate change. It's easy to get lost in the data and the graphs.
Yeah.
But this is about real people's lives.
It is, and that's where the concept of climate justice comes in.
Okay.
The sources highlight how those least responsible for climate change are often the most affected by it.
That just doesn't seem fair.
No, it's not. And one source gives the example of farmers in Bihar and Madhya Pradesh in India. They're struggling with unpredictable rainfall and outdated farming practices, and many are being forced to leave their homes to find new livelihoods.
It's heartbreaking to think that people are already being displaced because of climate change.
It is. These stories remind us that climate change isn't just an abstract problem, it's a human crisis unfolding right now.
Year 2025, takeaway number 3. Climate change is a human rights issue.
It is. It's easy to get overwhelmed by all this doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But the good news is the sources also offer a lot of hope. We actually have the knowledge and technology to transition to a climate-positive world.
Okay, I like the sound of that. What kind of solutions are we talking about?
Well, one key strategy is electrification.
Okay.
And I'm not just talking about cars.
Right.
We need to electrify everything. Heating and cooling systems, industrial processes, even cooking.
Hold on, though. Wouldn't that just shift emissions from cars to power plants? We'd still be burning stuff, right?
Right, but that's where renewable energy sources come in.
Oh. Okay.
Solar, wind, geothermal, hydro. The sources show a clear consensus. We need to decarbonize our electricity grids as quickly as possible.
But what about when the sun isn't shining, or wind isn't blowing? Can renewables really provide reliable power all the time?
That's a common concern, and the sources address it head on. We're seeing huge advancements in energy storage technologies like batteries and pumped hydro.
So we can store up extra energy when the sun is out.
Exactly.
And use it when we need it.
Think of it like a giant rechargeable battery for the entire grid.
That's pretty amazing.
As these technologies become more efficient and affordable, we can move towards a future where we're not just reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, but actually creating a surplus of clean energy.
Year 2025, takeaway number 4. Renewable energy is the future.
It is.
And the future is closer than you think.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got electric cars, solar panels. What about those harder to decarbonize sectors, like planes and ships?
Yeah, those are tricky areas. But even there, the sources highlight promising innovations.
Like,
We're seeing development of sustainable aviation fuels, more efficient ship designs, and even electric aircraft for shorter routes.
wait, electric planes?
Yeah.
Seriously? That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It might sound futuristic, but it's already happening. And as battery technology continues to improve, we'll likely see electric planes playing a bigger role in the future of air travel.
Year 2025, takeaway number 5. Don't underestimate the power of innovation.
Right.
We're already seeing solutions emerge for some of the toughest challenges.
We are.
Okay, let's be realistic for a moment. All these transitions are going to require a lot of money, right?
Yeah, it's a big question, and one the sources don't shy away from.
So who's going to pay for it all?
We're talking about shifting trillions of dollars from fossil fuels to climate solutions.
Trillions.
It's a huge undertaking, but it also presents a huge economic opportunity.
So it's not just about cost. It's about investments that create jobs and stimulate innovation.
Exactly. The sources point to mechanisms like carbon pricing, green bonds, and public-private partnerships as ways to mobilize these investments.
Carbon pricing, though, isn't that kind of controversial?
It can be, but it's essentially about putting a price on carbon emissions, either through a tax or a cap-and-trade system.
So making polluters pay for the damage they're causing.
The idea is to internalize the cost of pollution and level the playing field for cleaner technologies.
I mean, that sounds fair, but what about those who argue that carbon pricing will hurt the economy or disproportionately affect low-income households?
Those are legitimate concerns, and the sources acknowledge them. Many propose solutions like revenue recycling, where the money generated from carbon pricing is used to support low-income communities or fund clean energy projects.
Your 2025 takeaway number 6, we need to make polluters pay,
Yes,
but we also need to ensure a just and equitable transition.
absolutely.
Okay, we've covered a lot here. Electrification, renewables, carbon pricing. Are there any other key strategies the sources highlight?
One that stands out is energy efficiency. It's often called the low-hanging fruit of climate action.
Right, because using less energy means fewer emissions, and it often saves money, too.
Exactly. And the sources show there's still huge potential for improvement in buildings, transportation, and industrial processes.
So better insulation, more fuel-efficient vehicles, things like that.
Absolutely. And these improvements not only reduce emissions, but also save money and create jobs.
It's a triple win.
It is.
Year 2025 takeaway number 7. Energy efficiency isn't glamorous,
No.
but it's incredibly effective.
Every
Every little bit counts.
little bit counts.
Okay, I'm feeling a bit more optimistic after hearing about all these solutions, but let's not sugarcoat things. What are some of the obstacles we face in making this transition?
Yeah, you're right. It's not going to be easy. The sources are quite frank about the challenges. One major obstacle is the inertia of the existing system. We've built our economies around fossil fuels, and changing that is a massive undertaking.
It's like turning a giant ship around.
Exactly. It takes time and a whole lot of coordinated effort. And then there's the issue of political will. Climate change is a global problem that requires global solutions. But getting different countries with different priorities to agree on a unified course of action is a huge challenge.
Yeah, the international climate negotiations can feel like a never-ending saga,
It can.
but we need to keep pushing for global cooperation.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the influence of vested interests. The fossil fuel industry has a lot to lose from a transition to a clean energy future, and they've been known to use their influence to delay action.
So it's not just a battle against emissions, it's a battle against powerful interests who want to maintain the status quo.
It is.
Year 2025 takeaway number 8. We need to be aware of the forces working against change
Yes,
and fight for a future that benefits everyone, not just the powerful few.
absolutely.
Well, this has been a roller coaster of emotions, from the doom and gloom to the hope and innovation. What's next on our deep dive agenda?
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's often seen as a potential game changer: technology. Our next stack of sources dives into how technology can help us address the climate crisis.
Bring on the tech talk. I'm ready for some more optimism.
Okay.
Bring on the tech talk. I'm so ready to hear how all this innovation can help us fight climate change. The sources make it sound like technology could really be a game changer,
Yeah, what's interesting about these sources is the sheer pace of technological advancement. I mean, things that seemed like science fiction a few years ago are becoming reality. It's pretty incredible.
Okay, give me some examples. What kind of tech are we talking about? I'm picturing robots planting trees and spaceships beaming up carbon dioxide.
Well, maybe not spaceships just yet, but the possibilities are pretty wild. We already talked about carbon removal technologies like direct air capture.
Right, those giant vacuums for the air.
Right, exactly. But it goes way beyond that.
Okay, so what else is out there?
We're talking about things like artificial intelligence, advanced materials, and even biotechnology.
Biotechnology, how does that fit in?
Well, researchers are exploring ways to engineer plants and microbes that can absorb more carbon dioxide, or even convert it into useful products.
So like turning emissions into a resource.
Exactly.
That's pretty mind-blowing. It sounds like we're not just talking about gadgets and gizmos, but about fundamental shifts in how we design and build everything.
Yeah, one source talks about new building materials that can actually capture and store carbon.
So our cities become carbon sinks.
Exactly.
Instead of
sources, yeah.
Okay, that is some serious sci-fi stuff. But how about AI? How can artificial intelligence help with climate change? Isn't that more of a data thing?
Well, AI can analyze huge amounts of data, identify patterns, and make predictions that humans just couldn't do on their own. And this is really important for understanding and managing these complex systems involved in climate change.
So it's like having a super smart assistant helping us figure this whole thing out.
You could say that AI is already being used to optimize energy grids, make transportation more efficient, and even speed up the discovery of new climate-friendly materials and technologies. It's a pretty powerful tool.
Year 2025 takeaway number 9, tech airy, isn't a magic bullet,
Right.
but it's a powerful tool in our arsenal.
Absolutely.
But with all this advanced technology, it seems kind of risky too. What about those unintended consequences? Are we opening a Pandora's box?
That's a valid concern, and the sources acknowledge that technology isn't a silver bullet and that we need to be really careful about potential downsides.
Okay.
For example, some carbon removal technologies require a lot of energy, and if that energy comes from fossil fuels, it could actually offset some of the benefits.
So it's not just about the tech itself, but about how we use it.
Exactly. We need strong policies and ethical frameworks to make sure these technologies are developed and used responsibly. We need to make sure they benefit everyone, not just a select few.
Year 2025 takeaway number 10, technology is powerful, but it needs to be guided by wisdom and ethical considerations. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. The urgency of the climate crisis, the complex web of emissions, the human cost, the hopeful solutions, and now the power of technology. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap things up?
I think the most important takeaway from all this is that we are not powerless in the face of this challenge. We have the knowledge, the resources, and the ingenuity to create a better future.
Yes. And it's not just about survival, it's about thriving. Imagine a world with cleaner air, healthier ecosystems, and more resilient communities. That's worth fighting for.
It is. It's a vision that's within our reach if we act together and we act decisively.
Year 2025 final takeaway. The future is ours to create.
It is.
Let's make it a good one. Well, this deep dive has been eye-opening to say the least. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of climate change. We hope you're leaving feeling informed, inspired, and ready to take action.
Remember, every action, no matter how small, can make a difference. Let's build that better future together.